So there may be a time in your academic journey where you need to write a research proposal. If you're in a graduate program, you usually have to do a research proposal, definitely for your doctoral dissertation, often for your master's thesis before it's approved by a committee or your advisors so that you can actually go on and do it. If you want to get funding, most grant applications require some form of a research proposal, and they can be competitive. So, starting to develop this skill is crucial. So there are some key components in a research proposal. It needs to be well structured and provide a very clear plan for conducting the research you want to do. It has to ensure feasibility. Is it a doable project under the skill set and resources available to you? Is it rigorous? And is it aligned with existing literature? Is it contributing to the current state of knowledge? Or have you just kind of ignored everything that exists? You're recreating the wheel, maybe answering a question that's already been answered. So there are some key components you need to have, and we're going to talk about a few of these aspects. So one, the basic structure of a research proposal, the kinds of things you can anticipate most research proposals needing to have in them, although they can vary based on the different grad program you're writing a research proposal for, or the different funding agency that the grant is connected to. So we'll talk about the structure of a proposal, and then a couple tips on synthesizing literature versus simply summarizing it, as well as integrating a theoretical framework. Those two skills really make a proposal stand apart, especially when you're newer at the process of developing one. So first, the structure of a research proposal is usually a title page. It includes the research title, the researcher's name, institution, or if it's for a undergraduate course, maybe the course title and the date. Then you move into the introduction. This establishes the background context, states the research question or a hypothesis, especially if it's more of a quantitative study, and it explains the importance of the study, like the why factor. Why does it matter to study this? You want to really lay that out. Then you move into the literature review. This is where you're synthesizing past research, hopefully identifying gaps in the research, and then providing a good foundation for the study you're doing. This is also where you would potentially put your theoretical frame, either in the intro or the lit review. If it's a very theoretically oriented project, it might go into the lit review. If it's just something that's helping frame the research question, then maybe it'd go into the introduction. You move into the most important part, which is the methodology. This details the research design, the data collection methods, the sample you're going to get, who are they, the participants, how are you going to get them, and your plan for analysis. Is it a quantitative project or qualitative project? Are you going to use certain software? And you want to lay out exactly what you're going to do, how you're going to do it. Then most, not all, but most research proposals will ask for feasibility questions, such as a budget or a timeline. Granting agencies that are giving you money usually expect a budget. How are you going to spend the money we give you if we give it to you? And so you might put, you estimate different costs. Do you have to travel to collect data? Do you need certain software? Do you need transcription help or research assistance? Is there a incentive to some people that maybe they get a $10 gift card if they sit down and do an interview with you? So all the different ways you might need to do the research that you're proposing. Timeline is also crucial. And however long you think it's going to take, it usually takes about 50% longer. So be generous with yourself in the timeline. Often you will have a section on ethical considerations. So you'll want to address some of the basic things when we talked about ethics, but certainly informed consent, confidentiality of the participants, any potential risks of harm to the participants. And that doesn't just have to be physical risks. It could be emotional or social reputational risks, especially if you're studying something that maybe is stigmatized or people wouldn't want others to know about. Then there will often be an expected outcomes and significance of the study, meaning what do you anticipate the main contributions of the research being? This is sort of a more expanded version of the so what they do in the intro, but why would it matter if this study was done? What would we gain? What knowledge or understanding is your study going to help, reveal for the broader population? And then, of course, you'll have a references section where you list all the sources that you cited in some kind of proper academic format, probably APA, maybe ASA if you're a sociologist, whatever format is required by the grad program you're in or the granting agency or course. So I do want to drill in real quick on two additional points. One is about synthesizing versus simply summarizing literature. So if you're just summarizing, you're just listing what each study found without connecting the research. So for example, someone might write, Smith 2020 found social media increases anxiety, while Jones 2021 found that it disrupts sleep. So cited things, you have supported claims you made, but you really haven't tied them together. So synthesizing, it integrates, right? It finds patterns, relationships, gaps. So for example, research suggests that social media impacts mental health in multiple ways. Smith 2020 links it to anxiety, while Jones connects it to sleep disruption, suggesting a broader pattern of psychological effects. Right, so in this way, they're both examples of how social media impacts mental health that then lead to suggest a broader pattern of psychological effects, as opposed to simply citing individual pieces of information without connecting them. So strong synthesis shows how past research informs the current study and helps justify your research question. And it also just makes you look much more professional or adept at handling scholarly literature. You don't want your lit review to read almost like an annotated bibliography. If you're just summarizing a journal article in a paragraph and then citing it, next paragraph, summarizing the next one, it's very disjointed. So be sure that you synthesize the literature. You don't simply summarize the literature. Last, I do want to mention the importance of developing a theoretical framework in a research proposal. A theoretical framework provides the foundation for understanding the research problem. I know sometimes maybe when you take a theory class, it seems abstract, but a good theory is supposed to help make a prediction. It's a heuristic, it's a lens for seeing society. And so if you have a strong theory, it can help lead to a set of research questions that would logically follow. And then you can test, for example, not only the hypothesis or research question, but the strength of that theory. If it's a strong theory, then it is more likely to help you predict what you might find in the social world. And theories that are commonly used in studies are ones that have been proven useful and often accurate in predicting things you might see. So how do you identify a theoretical framework? One, review how similar studies to the one you want to do has framed their research. They are most likely using a theoretical frame, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with borrowing the frame of another project. Of course, you're going to cite that frame and which literature supports it or introduces it. But also consider discipline-specific theories. If you're a sociologist, something like social capital theory, or if you're a psychologist, cognitive dissonance theory, these ideas of how people behave. But different disciplines tend to have theoretical frames that are more or less common or popular in each discipline. And of course, use tools like Google Scholar or ChatGPT to help you find relevant theories. ChatGPT particularly is really helpful. You can tell it your research question and your discipline and ask it to give you the top theories that you think would help make a strong theoretical frame. And then it'll list them and you can ask it to educate you on each one to go a little deeper in understanding why. So how do you integrate a theoretical frame into your proposal? You'll introduce the theory briefly and explain its relevance, its importance. And you'll show how past research has used the theory to study similar topics. And you'll explain how the theory informs the research question and study approach. It sort of puts a scholarly backing on why you want to do this study and what you might anticipate. So, for example, using social comparison theory to study how social media affects self-esteem by analyzing upward and downward comparisons. Right? So social media, we can study that and its impact on mental health or well-being or how happy people are. But by using social comparison theory, which the theory predicts that people will be looking at upward comparisons and downward comparisons. And so it helps frame how you would look at social media. It's not just, are people on social media happier or sadder? It's, are people who use social media making more upward comparisons and downward comparisons? And does that affect the way they feel about themselves? So you see a theory allows you to be a bit more nuanced because these theories were developed in most cases also through empirical research. And so people propose a theory often after they've done a significant amount of research in an area. So there are thousands and thousands of theories out there, but you usually want to build on the work of scientists that have come before rather than just doing your own. You don't want to propose your own new theory until you've done a significant amount of research in an area. So certainly if you're new to doing research, build off of theories that exist, save proposing your own theories for much later in your academic career, if that's indeed what you're going to pursue. So A strong research proposal is well structured. It synthesizes literature effectively. It incorporates a theoretical framework to justify the study. And if you master these elements, you'll have a clear, feasible, rigorous, well-written proposal that will very much speed you along in the research process, especially if you then have to actually do the study that you're proposing in the research proposal. If you're applying for grant funding, you're going to increase the odds to be successful in receiving or securing the funding you're seeking.